What if death wasn't as scary as you thought? We all die, but not all of us truly live. In a world that rushes and forgets the value of the last moment, Stoic philosophy offers a different perspective. Life is not always easy. The Stoics teach us that challenges are inevitable. We cannot control what happens, but we can control how we respond. Every day you need a reason to wake up. A reason to rise above the difficulty, above the pain. Not everyone finds it right away, but it is often in the darkest moments that your goals are formed. I once had an electric shock accident. At that moment, I did not know if I would survive. But strangely, in the pain, I felt the value of life. I understood that every breath, every moment is a gift. The Stoics believe that, by accepting every challenge, we find our true strength. So, no matter what life throws at you, ask yourself every morning, what is my reason for waking up today? Because when you have a reason to wake up, you can face anything. Death is not an enemy. It is a natural part of life. Like sunrise, like sunset. Stoicism teaches that we cannot control death, but we can control our attitude toward it. Today, the healthcare system has forgotten that. People focus on the illness, on the numbers, and forget the people behind the cold records. I have witnessed this. I have seen fragile eyes being pushed aside by the indifferent medical system. Stoicism reminds us, to live is not just to prolong one's breath, but to live meaningfully, to live with dignity, even in the final moments. Death does not make us weak. Fear of death makes us lose ourselves. So, while you still can, live well, live fully. Remember that human dignity cannot be taken away, not even by death. Death is not the end. It is just a natural part of the journey. Stoicism teaches us to accept reality, not to resist, not to fear, simply to embrace. If death is inevitable, then why not redesign the way we experience it? No unnecessary suffering. No fear, no reason. Just calm, acceptance, and love. We can create a warmer space, where people die with dignity, with lightness of heart. It is not surrender. It is living fully until the last moment. Stoicism reminds us that creativity, compassion, and acceptance are what help people overcome fear. So, dare to imagine another way. A peaceful death, a tearless farewell, a light-filled closure, and start designing it today. Caregivers cannot change fate. They cannot turn back time. They cannot heal what is broken. But they can do something greater. Reduce suffering. Bring peace. The Stoics teach that we cannot control everything, but we can always control ourselves. Patience, calmness. These are the qualities caregivers need to keep in mind. They are not there to fix, but to accompany. Not to deny death, but to accept it with others, with compassion. Palliative care is an act of love. It is a quiet kindness, but deep and necessary. And according to the Stoics, helping others is the highest calling. Not for recognition, but because it is the right thing to do. A caregiver does not just heal the body, they heal the fear. By presence, by kindness, by peace in the eyes. Frank knew he was going to die. He didn't have much time left, but he didn't complain. He didn't blame fate. He chose to live, really live, even when time was running out. The Stoics taught that death is not the enemy. It's just part of the journey. The more important thing is, what do we do with the days we have left? Frank understood that. He didn't run away. He didn't panic. He sat with himself, with his loved ones, with each moment. A cup of tea in the morning, a sincere hug, a long, unhurried conversation. Frank lived without regrets. He found meaning in the end. That's the Stoic spirit, accepting the unchangeable and making the possible more beautiful. Frank isn't just dying. He's teaching us how to live. There are moments when life forces us to stop, not to give up, but to look back from a different angle. After the accident, I was no longer the same person. Everything changed. My body, my habits, my future. But the biggest change was the way I looked at life. Stoicism teaches that we cannot change the circumstances, but we can always change our perspective. It is no longer, why did this happen to me? But what is this teaching me? Instead of blaming, I learned to be grateful. Instead of being afraid, I learned to accept. Instead of falling, I learned to get up, little by little. Reality does not change. But when the mind changes, everything becomes different. Stoicism does not make life easier. It makes us stronger to face life. Changing your perspective is sometimes the first step to living again. The Stoics don't deny feelings. They just remind us, don't let them control us. Emotions come and go. We don't have to chase them. We just have to observe and smile. But what about beauty? A quiet afternoon, the sound of the wind in the trees, the cold feeling of the first snow on our hands. These moments are not loud, not dramatic, but they are moving, enough to make us stop and reconnect with ourselves. The Stoics don't call us to reject the world. On the contrary, they teach us to live in it and still maintain a peaceful mind. Not insensitivity, but deep, on purpose, enjoying simple beauty, without being driven by desire or fear. A morning light, a familiar scent, a slow breath, and knowing we are alive. The hospital is not a place to die. It is not a place to live. It is a place to fight, to heal, to rescue. But when death is near, when life is no longer a battle, we need another space, a quieter place, more humane, a place like hospice, where death is not seen as a failure, but is welcomed with respect. The Stoics do not avoid death. They face it as an inevitable part of nature. No complaints, no fear, just acceptance, calm and clear. Hospice does not try to prolong life at all cost, but preserves human dignity until the last second. Their death is no longer scary. It becomes a meaningful journey, a gentle goodbye, a complete closure. And that is what Stoic philosophy always reminds us. Live right, die right. Not much is needed, just enough humanity. Life is not about big things. It is hidden in every small moment. A breeze brushing against the cheek, the smell of baked goods wafting from the kitchen, the soft laughter of a loved one nearby. Stoicism teaches us to live in the present. No regrets about the past, no fear of the future. Simply, to be fully present in this moment. When we touch our senses, we return to our bodies, to our breathing, to our beating hearts. And thanks to that, we touch life, real, raw, but beautiful. Even when death is near, a handshake, a hug, a loving look, is enough to say we are still alive. No need to look far. Life is always here, in the scent, in the sound, in the full presence. And that's what Stoicism reminds us every day. Slow down, feel more, because reality is all we have. Dignity is not about health. It is not about youth or appearance. It is about how we are treated, even when we are no longer able to respond. Stoic emphasizes, whether living or dying, dignity is something that cannot be lost. So why, when people reach their final days, are they forced to lie in cold rooms? With white lights and lifeless machines. We can do better. Redesign the end-of-life space, not just to ease pain, but to preserve the human part, the deepest part. A soft blanket, a hand to hold, a compassionate gaze. That is how we protect dignity. No need for grand things, just kindness and respect. Stoic does not deny death. They simply refuse to let death take away the most precious thing. Peace and dignity. Death is not the end, but part of the journey. Stoicism teaches us how to live fully, even in the face of the inevitable. Well-being does not come from moments of joy alone. It comes from how we accept every situation, including death. We cannot control death, but we can control how we approach it. Instead of fearing it, we can live creatively with it. Make death a part of life. Every last moment counts. It is an opportunity to rediscover what is important, to find meaning even when it is about to end. So it is not death that defines us, but how we live until the end. Stoicism reminds us that well-being is peace in all circumstances, and creativity is how we choose to live even when death is near. Death is not an enemy. It is not something to run away from. Stoicism teaches us that death is a part of life. What we can change is how we face it. Death need not be feared. It is simply a transition, part of the cycle we all go through. Stoicism does not tell us to avoid it, but to learn to accept it and live fully in each moment. When we learn to cherish each moment, when we do not let life pass by in vain, death is no longer a painful end. It becomes a natural part. Nothing is permanent, but because of that, everything becomes more precious. Every breath, every look, every step has a profound value. Death is not something to be avoided. It is something we can live fully with, when we have learned to live with gratitude and acceptance. If you feel these shares touch your heart, please leave a comment below and subscribe to the channel to explore more profound lessons from Stoic philosophy with me, helping you live a strong, mindful, and meaningful life every day.